Also, if you'd like to download any presentations through any of the virtual harvest sessions, those will also be available on the website as we get closer to those sessions. And again, for those, some international users or those that don't have access to YouTube recordings, please head to thevirtualharvest.com and you can find the link to register for Whova, the event app that we are using that will give you access to all recordings, live sessions, and presentations. All attendees are welcome to use that app. This will give you access to our speaker database, community boards, and other fun things. So that's it for me. I thank you again for joining us today. Our session is a live tour into conversations with Coleman Ag. So I'm going to hand it over to our host, internal host today is Rob. So Rob, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Rob Marolis. I'm happy to be here and be your moderator today. My background is in Yakima Chief Hops Room 203, but sadly I'm not there. But I am here in Oregon, and I'm joined by this amazing crew. This virtual session featuring Coleman Agriculture will include a farm tour of their hop fields, along with questions asked by me and questions asked by you as you provide them below. So let's just jump right into it and start with the origin story of Coleman Ag. And I'll start with David, if you'd like to introduce the team and start with how Coleman Ag came to be.
Yeah, my name is David Hensey. I'm the president of Coleman Agriculture. I'm very fortunate in my career to have been brought into the Coleman organization, into the Coleman family. The Colemans, the ownership, we have Tom Coleman, who's on. We have Jen Coleman. We have Liz Coleman, Ben Coleman, John Coleman, and I think we're just missing Melissa Coleman today. So they're 6th generation family members that have been in Oregon all this time. Also on the team, we have some other members as we'll get to it. We brought our farm managers, Clint Striplin, Matt Zielinski. We also have another farm, which Todd Cook is here with us. We're working with him this year on the Greenleaf farm. And we got Haley Nelson, who does a lot of our social media. So I think I caught everybody there. Did I miss anybody? So anyway, you guys may have heard that there's a thing called the Oregon Trail. And one of the reasons the Oregon Trail was so popular is because it led to the Willamette Valley. And the Willamette Valley is some of the most fertile growing area in the country. In the mid-1800s, they actually had a need for hops, and they found out that the Willamette Valley was a lot like the Hallertau region in Germany, and that hops were incredible to grow in this area. And then if you put that along with the trade routes they had along the Columbia River, and then later the railroads, it was a way that hops could be shipped all over the country and actually all over the world. So it's spread out through the Northwest into Washington and Idaho, but we like to feel that we're the heart of the hop country here. We have a soil that's been very interesting that has come down through what they call the Missoula floodplains millennia ago. And this soil is perfect. You may have heard that we've done some work on terroir, which you've heard in grapes. Well, the same thing, we're looking at the studies on how they affect hops. But anyway, back in the mid-1800s, Coleman family made it out on the trail, and they put down and they started farming. Actually, at one time, one of the elders in the family decided to head off to the gold rush. So he left his family here where they farmed, and he went to the gold rush, but then he came back. And then through different generations, we've come up to where we are today. Coleman has a large amount of acres in the area and run by the Coleman family, which I introduced earlier.
Wonderful. Well, before we get into any more specifics, how about we hop into a virtual hop tour? If Ms. Nicole Sloan could help us with that process, that would be excellent.
Well, hello. My name is John Coleman, and welcome to all the brewers and YCH customers to our Alluvial Farm. This is the farm that's located just south of Salem along the Willamette River. We farm a little over 1,000 acres of hops here. We're going to take you on a tour of this farm, and there's another farm that we have, and we're going to have our managers and people that work here at this farm show you around.
Good morning, I'm Clint Striplin with Coleman Agriculture at the Alluvial Hop Farm in Independence, Oregon. When the drivers reach the row where they're supposed to start cutting, they will put their trucks in neutral. Top cutter will come up behind it, start pushing the vehicle, cutting the bines down and placing them into the trailer with a little bit of added pressure from our press that we have that's right in front up under the blades. Maybe this afternoon or evening we've got to correlate our trucks with our laying of our kiln floors to make sure we get a full floor by the time we have the field finished. And that's a tricky play that we have to learn how to be really good at. Just adds to the experience of working on a hop farm.
My name is Haley Nelson and I work here for Coleman Agriculture. So right here at our Independence Farm we have 3 pickers. And it's a little bit unique because all of our pickers meet up together under the same building. Our other farms, each picker is individual, so there's a lot going on over here.
Hi, my name is Micah Chase. We're at Coleman's Hop Farm here, the Alluvial Hop Farm in Independence, Oregon. We're pretty early into harvest. We're picking Centennial today. The hops are coming in nice and green, and it's a beautiful day to be a hop farmer. As the layer moves across the floor, it's just dragging the top of the hops and setting the height. We can keep going down. You can kind of see more belting and just some of the systems and controls that we have here. Main control panel, it's old, but it works. On this side of the kiln, we have the hops that were picked yesterday, dried overnight, and turned off. We're dumping floors into the cooling floor right now to cool off for 24 hours before we can bale them. So right here, you can kind of see the hops are laying on what we call a kiln claw. It's just a cloth that goes across the bed of the kiln. These hooks will bring down, hook onto the pipe, lift the door up, slowly turn the pipe, and just pull all the hops over, as you can see happening over here. The most important factor in the kiln is just drying the hops just to the perfect moisture. In order to ensure quality and just what brewers like you need, it's basically just to get the moisture right between 8.5% and 10.5%. These are a perfect 9.5, I know it. So yeah, here in the kiln we work from 5 to 5, that's the shift, and then night shift comes and takes over at 5 p.m. So it's early mornings. We're just having a break, having some pizza right now.
How's it going? I'm Mitch, and I run the baler here at the Alluvial Farm. Behind me, you can see we have 2 balers. When you look above us, you can see that there's quite a few conveyor belts. Those are bringing the hops in from the kilns, and they're dropping them into that big pile behind us. So we'll go look at these hops. So these hops are gonna have to sit on the floor for about 24 hours before we can put them into the bale. This is the point where we can start seeing, how good the kiln operators were. Did they make that perfect cone? Feeling these, they did a really nice job at it.
We have a pretty bustling fresh hop program that we run here on our farm. This is our Independence Farm. It has the most acreage, so we tend to have a lot of people out here picking up fresh hops. On any given day, we could have anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7 breweries stopping out here to pick up. And today we're doing Centennial, and we have a few people picking up because it's our first variety we harvest. Sometimes we have brewers come out in their small Subarus, and we got to pack the car full. It's pretty fun, and I get a little bit jealous because now their cars are going to smell amazing for like the next week.
Well, thanks for coming by. I think the next stop you're going to make is at our Mount Angel farm, which is on the east side of the Willamette Valley, next to the Mount Angel Abbey. And Matt over there will give you guys a great tour.
Hey, I'm Matt Zelensky. I'm in Mount Angel, Oregon at Valley Hop Farm for Coleman Ag. We're here at our picker, and this is the oldest picker in the valley. So this is the map of the farm here. Right here is the Abbey, and the farm surrounds the Abbey. And right over here is the brewery. You see our fields that the brewery's looking down on. And we got a couple fields that are a little further away. John always says this is the holy ground. Being the Abbey's ground, it's definitely a little bit more responsibility to make sure you're doing things the right way and taking care of the environment. At lunchtime, there's the bell going off. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the bell's going off. It's kind of majestic in its own right.
And by being the oldest in the valley, how old does that date?
I can't remember. It's either 1952 or 1962. It's on that plate that was down there, and I can't remember which one's the serial number and which one's the year. Yeah, we're up in the crow's nest. This is where all the hops come through and get fed into the main through here. And we got 3 tracks, and the hops will just be coming in through here, and this machine will grab them, pull them straight through. Well, it's the calm before the storm. We kind of getting all of our gear ready for all of our guys. And this farm will be running about 20 people per shift, 24 hours a day for 4 to 5 weeks, non-stop. So this is where all the hops get laid in. We'll have the piles all the way up, about 3/4 up to those conveyor belts. Well, thanks for coming out to Coleman Ag and here in Mount Angel. And we hope to see you guys in person after everything calms down. And have a great day. Peace out. Wait, that's not English. That's English. Yeah.
It is.
Wonderful. So
one thing I wanted to mention is too, because we talked about the employees. We have the managers here, but we also have we employ about 300 people in the farm during the harvest. And I also failed to mention that Brad Eagleston, who's our HR director, he's been working tirelessly after the last few weeks just to get everybody involved and also to keep everybody safe.
wonderful, thanks. I'll turn it over to John Coleman to give a little bit of an overview of each farm and who's on that operation, and we'll also dig into a little bit of the uniqueness of each farm as well.
All right, thank you, Rob, and thank you, David. Welcome to everybody from across it sounds like the world. So thanks for joining in, and I'll start this off by saying that we have 5 farms that we are operating and harvesting hops this year, and they all have they're all located in different areas of the Willamette Valley. And so I'm going to defer some of that conversation to the Chouar people when it comes up, but I would say I'd like to call on Clint to speak a little bit about the farm at Alluvial.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clint Strickland again, the farm manager here at the Alluvial Hop Farm. As everyone knows, we're currently in the middle of harvest of 2020, and in this new world of times that we live in, and so we're working through it. So here down at the Alluvial Farm, it's called alluvial because it's an alluvial floodplain that the farm is located on, with good, rich, sandy loam to loamy type soils, which produce fantastic, aggressive, bulky hops. And the soil here, which you'll hear in a little bit more from Garrett and the Chouar team, is very great in producing our hops here because of how the river, we're located on the west side of the river, and we're about 75% the river wraps around us. We're kind of like a peninsula out in the river, where we're covered with about 75% of water around the farm, and the farm frequently floods in the wintertime, dumping more rich sediments and challenging the managers here on growing these great hops.
Thank you, Clint. I'd like to call on Matt about the Mount Angel Farm.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt Zelensky. I'm out here at our Valley Hop Farm, located in Mount Angel. So this farm is our easternmost farm, and it is a little bit warmer than the other ones, about 1 degree on average. compared to our other locations. We have a couple different, it's a terraced farm. There's a hill behind me up at the Abbey, and the farm surrounds it. So we have a couple different soil types throughout it, going from sand to clay a little bit higher. And each unique field kind of gives itself a nice challenge and a really nice view as well.
Thank you, Matt. And Tom, my brother Tom, can you speak to the Goulet farm for us? Tom, you're mute.
Mute. There we go. So the Goulet farm is named after Phil Goulet, who we purchased it from in the early 90s. It's also somewhat in an alluvial basin. A little bit different than what they have down in Independence, a little heavier soil, I would say. But we've got some new acres in down there this year, and we seem to be doing fairly well with the baby harvest right now, struggling through it.
Thank you, Tom. Is Todd still on? If Todd's still on, he can talk about the new farm at Greenleaf. Tom, go ahead, Todd.
Might be a little loud. I'm up here in the dryer right now, but here at Coleman Greenleaf, we've got a bottom ground that runs right along the Willamette River, which is some really nice soil, and then kind of an upper bench, which still grows some good hops also, and a few hundred acres here. And I think you can probably see on my screen, nice green Cascade hops coming in on the kiln now.
All right, thanks, Todd. And Ben, could you speak about the home farm, please?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So the home farm is where John and Tom and I, his grandpa, and I guess Todd's great uncle started farming when he got married in the 30s. I guess, John, you might have to correct me on that. I guess if I'm off, but it's mostly up ground. There is a little bit of bottom ground that we pick on once in a while here. It is also a large facility, much like the Alluvial Farm. We run 3 hop pickers here. Currently picking Mount Hood, and probably back into Simcoe later today. A little heavier soils, like Tom said, more so than alluvial, but good silty loams, and it makes good hops.
I'd like to thank everybody. That was great. And one final thing to say about all of our areas where we grow hops, they do a very good job at each farm, and I applaud all the people that help us do it. So back to you, Rob.
Hey, thanks, John. I like Todd's live photos of the Cascade rolling in. That's pretty cool right now.
Yeah.
Wanted to sort of ask what you guys are seeing on each farm this year and why, and what maybe the climate's given us. And so maybe I'll toss it to Clint if he wants to talk down in Independence about just what differences he's seen this year, if any.
Well, basically the weather, the weather plays an important role in how we are able to produce these hops. Starting at the beginning of the year, it seemed like it just kept raining for long periods and stayed cool way on up into the springtime, which seemed to maybe slow down the growing of the vines. And that kind of, when it warmed up in the summertime, everything was, when the temperatures warmed up, the vines got more aggressive, and they started to grow like we think or we expect them to do. And so with that, the weather has it caused some pest pressures to flare up a little earlier. So we've had to be vigilant on mitigating these pressures, and I think we've done a very good job on it this year, because there again, the weather was challenging to start with, but things happen, and we get back on track luckily sometimes, and we're kind of seeing the rewards of everybody's hard work here right now.
Great. And maybe I'll toss this back over to John, but what sort of variety specific differences have you seen earlier in our recorded session with the Carpenters? They talked about some specific varieties. Do you want to discuss any of the specific varieties and what you've seen this year?
Sure. We start with Centennial here, and I think overall the yields on Centennial were probably at above average for us here in the Valley, and they all came in really, really good, and we were really happy with the results of that. And after that, I believe we started to pick some Willamettes, and again, the yield was good on those, and they looked really good. We've done a really good job across the farms picking Willamettes. I think we're going to finish on Willamettes today. At certain farms, we've picked some Cascades. I think you heard Todd say that earlier. We also picked some Simcoe, Sabro, Strata, which is a different hop from here in Oregon. And then we're going to move into Citra before too long and Amarillo before too long. And we also picked the Mount Rainier field. So beyond that, we also raised Nuggets, Millenniums, Mount Hoods, Liberties. And if I've missed one to the group there, name it out.
Mosaic.
Mosaic and Meridian, thank you, and Tahoma too. So there we go.
Eldorado.
And we're going Eldorado for a small brewery here in Oregon, and Belma also. So.
We got one little baby field over here too.
Oh yeah. We also have a baby field of Idaho 7. And in Oregon, babies aren't considered a harvest of a first year, but we tried it on Idaho 7 and they look good. There's an internal bet across the management team about what the yield will be, and it anywhere from roughly 3 bales to acre to about 8.5 to 9 bales. So it's a wide range. So we'll see what happens, but they'll be picked toward the end or at the end actually. So it's a ways to go on those.
We may want to open that up to our guests here. We could probably make that pot a little more substantial.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And I don't know if there's anybody that wants to add anything about what they're seeing on yields beyond what I added, but please, if you've got something that maybe I didn't touch on, go ahead and bring it up if you're noticing anything different. I think from a brewer's perspective, they're looking at the aroma, the quality, and of course, maybe the amount of oil you're feeling or noticing in the hops, the size of the cones. I know there's been challenges with cone size here in Oregon, so anything else that you want to add, go ahead.
John, I would like to add that the Simcoes are looking extraordinary this year. They're real consistent in size. They have a great color to them in the kiln. They got a great aroma as well. They just look fantastic down here.
Thank you. Ben, you commented earlier, there's quite a bit of oil. You're noticing a lot of oil in some of the hops this year.
Yeah, just for example, we try to lay the kilns all at a pretty uniform depth across the farms. Mount Rainier is one that we have here at the home farm that we don't raise on other farms. But just for an example, we were getting upwards of 3 bales to the kiln more this year at the same depth versus what we did last year. So there's definitely there's more to them, more body to them this year for sure. And it could be because of the slower growing season.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rob, we'll give it back to you.
Well, thanks. Well, I think we'll change gears a little bit and dig a little deeper, if that's okay, into this terroir project. And I'll let Liz give us a nice overview and maybe start discussing what the terroir project, where it started and where it's heading.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob. And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I like your segue to dig a little bit deeper, Rob. That's nice. So yeah, definitely to give you an overview regarding terroir and starting with a little bit of background. For age-old food and beverage industries such as wine and coffee and cheeses, to name a few, the industries have long defined terroir as how a particular region, soil, and climate and elevation affect taste. And for all of us as consumers, taste is the most significant factor that distinguishes one region from another. So until recently, similar regional analysis has not been done for hops and its impact on brewing characteristics. So due to growing industry theories, connecting with different brewers and growers for a very long time, and regarding the theories on regional distinctiveness in hops, in 2018, we partnered with Oregon State University and a third-party soil scientist to put some research behind it. So our primary goal of that research was to study Willamette Valley soil climate and terrain, and we'll get into the logistics of that with Garrett Weaver, who's been instrumental leading the programming of infield programming. But we did this in the pursuit of unique, high quality hops that will further enrich the benefit to brewers, our primary partners, along with our merchants and brokers, to create premium and distinct craft beers. Today, just 2 years later, the study has evolved into a multi-state research regional program between Oregon and Washington growers. We find that to be very significant, and it just goes to show how much the landscape has changed in the market from micro regions, farm to farm, to state, to multi-state. We're very grateful for that, and we find that to be very impressive. And just a little note that's funded by Oregon and Washington hop commissions and grower associations. The growers felt that to be, rose to a collaborative invitation, and there's a lot of excitement generated around that study. So altogether, all in, growers want to, for the study, we want to be inclusive and collaborate between grower, broker, and brewer communities that we feel will benefit the entire hop and brewing industry. And just a couple of takeaways that we'd like to leave you at a highest level. We're seeing a shifting moment in history and an incredible opportunity for growers in the brewing industry to grow their reputation and notoriety on a global scale. And branding hop growing regions could have a market impact potentially in promoting regional varieties and characteristics of hops, just as we've seen Champagne and Bordeaux and Napa of the wine industry or regions for years, for decades. And in addition to the marketing opportunity it creates for the hop and brewing industries, for growers, it also ensures that we're better to our land, simply put. By a deeper understanding of our own soil stories, we have an opportunity to foster the earth in every best way we possibly can. And this alone provides a future for generations to come. And lastly, the most importantly, I believe, is thinking innovatively around hop terroir has excited and engaged the hop and brewing industries. And the graying of hop growers has made farming vulnerable. The impact of regionality can attract young talent back to farms, continuing important relationships and collaborations that growers have with brewers and consumers, potentially even creating sub-industries. So overall, as the hop terroir is, the movement and development of hop terroir is further developed, we believe it will ensure significant overall prosperity, but mostly security for future generations to come. So for the person at the helm, I call it mission control. I'm going to hand that over to Garrett to kind of explain and break down how we activated the infield programming at our level in the Oregon for Coleman Farms, but actually where it is today between the Oregon and Washington project.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, so my name's Garrett Weaver. I work as a project manager here at Coleman Agriculture. And as Liz mentioned, since 2018, we've been working on a terroir initiative. And it started the first year with just 6 fields, Sterling and Centennial fields at each of our farming locations. So as mentioned by Dave earlier, we have farms uniquely that are up to 40 miles apart from each other. So there's some distinct regional differences that exist at each of these farms. And we've gotten feedback over the years from brewers that, hey, we really like this specific lot, and we really like this specific, this, that, or the other thing about a hop. So we wanted to explore, what is it about that field? What is it about this lot that is driving some of these differences that folks are interested in? So the first year we looked at the 6 fields at the Alluvial, Home Place, and Mount Angel Farm. And from there, we got a lot of good initial data. And in 2019, we repeated the study with some different varieties, Mosaic, Simcoe, and Strata. And we looked at 11 different fields, again, at the Home Place, Mount Angel, and Alluvial Farms. And in that second year, we dug a little bit deeper. We, instead of looking just at taking commercial samples from the kiln and using just a couple soil samples, we actually looked at the soil variation within the field and we sampled based on that. So we really got a better level of granularity that second year, which propelled us to continue working with Oregon State for the third year that we're in now, where we have over 40 sites in Washington and Oregon now, looking at Cascade and Mosaic. And yeah, we've been able to dig to an even deeper level with the partnership with Oregon State and Washington and Oregon Hop Commissions. So that's where we're at now. We just finished harvesting our Cascade samples and running those through the picker down in Corvallis, and Mosaic is going to start the end of this week at one farm, and then we're going to continue on as the weeks come to finish out our mosaics. So that's kind of an overview of where we've been and where we are now with the terroir project. And I guess I can mention along with that, I mean, the approach of what we've been looking at each of these fields, as Liz mentioned, we've been looking at the soil, the climate and environment, and then the management practices. So we're doing, 5-foot soil cores, deep soil cores in each of our fields, and we're looking at the topsoil and the subsoil. We're looking at the parent material, the texture, we're looking at the difference in nutrients. For environment, we're looking at 30-year climate trends. We're also looking at year to year how the climate and local weather is different from years previous. And then also the management practices, which at Coleman, there's a similar management philosophy from farm to farm. So that serves as a good kind of control that we know similar management practices, the Coleman quality that we go for on each farm, we can count on that. So those are kind of the different areas that we've been breaking the study into and trying to gather information. And with that, we already have, and we hope to continue to find differences between the locations and kind of what makes each farm unique and special in its own way.
Thank you, Garrett. Back to you, Rob.
Thanks. And just a reminder, if anybody out there has questions, you can ask them in the Q&A function if you want to dig deeper into more about the terroir project or anything else. Don't be afraid, don't be shy, just chime in there if you want, and we'll get to those questions in a little bit. But as all these hops make it into beer, I'm curious if the team, and Haley specifically, if you have favorite beers that you've experienced with Coleman Ag hops, and if you want to talk about some of the programs you're working on as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So, hi, everyone. My name is Haley Nelson. And like David mentioned earlier, I run our social media, but I also run our fresh hopping program. And so I just like to say, we have the benefit of seeing so many brewers out on the farm. It's really hard to talk about favorites because we do work with a lot of people, and there's a lot of amazing breweries out there. And every season we have new people coming out to the farm. We're making new friends. We get more and more people involved. And we're working on a project right now that actually kind of answers your question. We're highlighting all of our favorite beers that are coming out of our favorite fields. We're calling them our favorite beer series, and you can find all of those videos on our social media channels and on our YouTube channel. Right now we have released 3 videos and more are coming soon. So I would highly recommend checking those out if you want to find some great beers with our hops in them. But other than that, we love having people out on the farm, and we love being able to create that tighter connection between the brewing industry and the growing industry. So if there's anyone else out there that wants to mention their favorite beer, or I know Clint and Matt, John, we've already filmed videos with you guys. So if you want to mention what beer you chose for that, that'd be great.
Well, I'll dip my toe in the water and try to not to. One of the things about Oregon is we don't get a lot of beer from across the United States. We get a lot of Oregon and Washington beer. And so I'm going to probably know more about those beers than anything across the United States. But for us here at Coleman Agriculture, the variety or the beer that I enjoy is from Fort George out of Astoria. They do a really good job with a lot of their beers. And one of the good ones that I like right now is their 3-way IPA. And I think it used some Chinook hops off our farm at Alluvial. And I believe that because of that, that's what makes it so great. So that's my 2 cents. How about you, Matt? You had a video, go ahead.
Yeah, so I chose Von Ebert. They have a volatile substance, and last year they made a fresh hop with our mosaics out here at Mount Angel, and it ended up winning the gold medal for the fresh hop awards, and it's pretty tasty, and it was kind of nice to be able to drink it because you do all that hard work and be able to try it at the end of the day is really nice.
Anyone else?
I'll shout out to another Coleman. I've been drinking a lot of Canopy Shaker from Ordnance Brewery lately.
The Ordnance Brewery is based in Boardman, Oregon, and it's co-owned by some more Colemans, and they're doing a really good job over there at Ordnance. How about you, Tom? Anything? Tom, you're mute. There you go.
Yep. Nothing's on the top of my list right now. I'm open to trying any of the hazy IPAs or any regular IPAs at this point.
Great. Clint or Garrett?
I love Block 15 Sticky Hands. That's kind of my go-to IPA. But again, like you said, John, there's too many good ones to really choose a favorite, but that's just what I recently have been getting.
All right. How about Liz and Jenny? Anybody have anything to add there?
I don't like to play favorites. However, that John Coleman brings home quite a selection all the time. Our fridge is well stocked. We're lucky enough to get a lot of goodies pushed our way. I am a big fan of the 3-way IPA just because I like the collab aspect, and it's a nice surprise every season.
How about you, Jen? Anything?
I don't have a favorite. It's kind of whatever's in the fridge, especially this time of year because we're working such long days.
Well, that's great. Yeah.
I'm just hoping there's something in there.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Who did I miss? I think I missed Tom. Go ahead, David.
We should mention that we have a rule here that there's no seltzers. Beers with IPA. And I'd like Tom to show his T-shirt.
There you go, Tom. That's great.
Yes.
Todd might have a favorite.
Yes, I've drank Joe's for a while, but I am finding there are other beers out there, and it's always interesting.
Thanks, Tom. Clint?
Yeah, I like my go-to Oregon IPA is the Boneyard RPM. And just recently saw that they started canning it. So really, that's a really go-to when I'm out getting a beer or a pizza. And I really like the collaboration brew I had with Block 15 and Great Notions Brewery that was made from the citra that's grown on the farm here. That's a really, really tasty, smooth, crisp beer that if you had a lot of them around would get you in trouble really quick. Good.
All right. How about you, Todd? Can you hear us, Todd?
Yeah. Well, there's all kinds of good ones out there now, but I'd say my favorite is whichever one I happen to have in my hand at the time.
That's great. That's great.
I think it's fair to say that this group and many other people that work on our team are always happy to taste any new brews that any of you brewers out there want to send our way and like us to sample. But there's just so many, and with honesty, we always enjoy knowing what the brewer had in mind when creating that craft, especially if we know that it has a connection to our farm. So that's just a call out to any brewer that has an inkling that some of our hops went into your beer. Let us know why you like those hops and what they're doing for you so we can get some more collaboration going on.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, back to you, Rob.
Well, wonderful. So I want to give the last word over to John, perhaps. But before we do that, I did get a bunch of questions sent over from the Whova app. And there's a couple below on Zoom that I'll get to in a second. This one seems pretty interesting. I guess it goes to Liz and Garrett, and it talks about climate. And I do apologize, I don't have the name of the person in front of me that asked this question, but they asked, how has climate change impacted the hop growing in Oregon over the last 10 years? And what makes Oregon such an ideal growing location for hops? Been discussed a little bit. And what would climate change have to do negatively to affect the climate in the long term? So to summarize, I know there's been some data over the last couple of years, but how has climate change impacted the hop growing region over the last 10 years, and what does that mean?
I can make a comment just, I guess, along those lines. I know Coleman Agriculture in the last couple of years, John will have to correct me, we've switched over to all drip irrigation, and I think we have a conscious effort towards conserving water and natural resources in that way. And I think we're just about 100% at drip irrigation now. So I know that's one, as far as conserving water that way, something we've done.
Yeah, I'll add to that in the sense that I think what we're seeing is just more extremes, and sometimes the timing of those extremes. So like this past spring, Clint spoke to the heavier rains that we had and the cooler weather that we had leading up into June even. And so those are the things we're starting to see. We're just seeing the weather change from that perspective. I think Oregon as a whole is especially in the Willamette Valley on the west side of the Cascade Range, is a very moderate area. Our high temperatures here rarely get into the 100-degree or triple digits, but we average in the 80s and upper 80s most of the summer. And I think it just gives us a little bit more moderate temperature. We do have a limited source of water, so that is one of the concerns that Garrett spoke to with drip irrigation and just overall water use in the valley here. And it is also the center of the population for the state of Oregon. So we're starting to see, I think, people looking to the Willamette River as a source of drinking water, which will be a challenge for farms in the future, of course, as we start to share more and more of that resource with the public. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I guess from the, if I think of the question from the idea of climate change in general, I would go back to the fact that we know it's changing. We're working on a lot of things on our end, mostly through trying to save on our electricity, save on our fuel, save on the wear and tear of our equipment, save with the water as much as we can. And the idea is we're just trying to look at everything that we do and say, what can we do to shave off some of the use of the natural resources that we all need and we all want to share.
Wonderful. Also, there's a couple more very specific Terroir questions in the Q&A. If anybody wants to answer those via text or type in through, Garrett or Liz, if you want to take a peek at those.
Mm-hmm.
On a more personal level, there's a couple questions that came through on Huva asking what are the most challenging, what are the most rewarding parts of being a hop grower? And so I don't know who wants to tackle that type of question, but what's challenging as being a 6th generation hop grower, and what's the most rewarding part of it?
I'll let Ben. Ben, would you like to try that?
Yeah, thanks. But it threw me the softball question. Challenging question is just trying to gain some efficiencies, dealing with labor issues, cost of production. I'm an operations guy, so we're always trying to find ways to do what we do better and more efficiently and use our resources wisely. On the growing aspect, I can't speak a whole lot to it because I'm more of the assets than the growing, but I think, trying to combat our mildew issues and bug issues and things like that, I think we're sharpening our point on our spear a little, but and doing a good job at it, but it's a constant evolving threat that we fight daily. So.
Thank you, Ben. How about anyone else want to talk about the rewards of it? I've got something to say, but if anybody else would like to say something,
I've got a little bit. I mean, I've been in the potato industry, I've been in the avocado industry, the apple industry, and by far the hops industry is the best. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's a sense of community, which maybe it's beer brings us all together. The nicest people you will meet, everybody shares. Also, the other thing is great is working with the family, because this is a place where there's passion for this business. Every family member you see here is very involved. I mean, I'll hear from Jen if some employees didn't get a hat, and we make sure that there's safety and PPE for COVID. It's this year with COVID, it's been a challenge, but one thing's great working in this business and with the passion that we have is we all get together, put our heads together, and we come up with solutions.
Well said, David. Anyone else want to add?
I'll add to that. Being part of something bigger and bringing joy through an age-old beverage is a pretty profound thing to be able to do if you like to enjoy life. And by bringing people out to the farm and having them immersed in such a unique crop, not a lot of people know about hops, how they're grown. With less than 100 hop growers between Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, it's pretty special to be able to walk people through and help them understand not only the process, but the whole supply chain and how we work really well. I think better today than in generations in the past. There's just so much more cohesion. It's very rewarding.
Thanks, Liz. Anyone else before we let go?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Dave said. It's I've been involved with 4 large farms, 2 corporate, two family farms, and the best by far are the family farms, and even better than that, this Coleman organization and this Coleman family are just great people to work with day in, day out, because like Dave said, they're heavily involved in the operations and management of the organization. And I can't be more happy personally to be a part of this team and help you guys with this great crop called hops.
I've got one. My first thought when they asked about the most rewarding was seeing the hops in the dryer and putting them in the bale and sending them down the road and that. But I actually think, after thinking about it a little more, it's also the work with everybody that makes this all happen, and seeing that come to fruition is probably the most rewarding part. Everybody putting the effort in to get it done at this busy time of year, that's the most rewarding part for me.
Well said, Tom. Well said. I think everybody on this screen and everybody that's a hop grower understands the amount of work and dedication that goes into raising this crop. And 4 or 5 months in, you spend almost every waking hour harvesting it and trying to do your best to create some quality and a good product for the brewers to use. And I think everybody is in 110% for that month. And it's very rewarding. The last day of harvest is always the best day of harvest, or best day of harvest is the last day.
Wonderful. I'm going to go to this Q&A board. Oh, and my question I just asked disappeared. There's another one. Kevin Rodriguez is asking about, with COVID, the impacts on the overstock of certain hops, or the supply and demand of certain hops that might be the result of a global pandemic. Does anybody want to talk about how that supply chain gets affected and what that meant this year with COVID-19?
I'll try that one. This past spring, YCH assembled all their growers and spoke to them about the need to reduce some of the hops. And it was based on some of the how fast those hops were going out the door and which kind of breweries. So they did some adjusting on acreage for all their farms. And I would defer to YCH to talk more about what the results of that were. But I think on our farm, we were asked to lay out of some hops, which we did not string. And in some cases, we just took the fields out. And I think overall, we probably are down 6-7% in acreage. Does that sound right, David? So it affected us, probably not as much as some of the other farms, but we'll see. I think there's going to be another readjustment probably this fall before next spring.
Yeah, just one of the industry-wide, Cascade was reduced by 28%. So there's a oversupply of Cascade. That's going to be interesting to see because everybody actually really likes that hop, but how that happens in the future. The other thing is I think we've seen is a little bit of pent-up demand. So when people were first quarantined, they would go get their big pack of Budweiser. After a while, they realized they needed these nice hoppy beers. And I'm understanding, reading a lot of the things I have is that the premium beers are going to lead us out of this. And then Haley will also comment that we've had more fresh hops opportunities this year than we have in the past. So maybe that's a good sign.
Yeah, we weren't expecting a lot of people to come out to fresh hop this year on the farm just due to the whole pandemic. But surprisingly, we've had more people than we did last year. So I think that's really great. And I think people are really excited to change things up and brew a fun new beer in the brewery and everyone come together again to try it.
Yeah, there's no doubt that COVID has impacted how we've drank beer, but for those of us that drink it responsibly have just done it, I think, a little bit different ever since. And occasions have changed somewhat. With that said, one other question that came in from Francis Chang was, are any other markets other than breweries beginning to explore or utilize hops, such as medicine, food science, etc., is what Francis wanted to ask. Does anybody want to tackle hops being used in any other capacity?
At our level at the farm, we don't see any of the other businesses that might use hops. I know that there's some pharmaceutical uses for hops, and a lot of that is around sleep aids and also for like not irritations, but people that might want to take it to help with some sort of soreness or something like that. So I think it's more not medicinal in a sense, but more of an additive to their day to help them get through that in some cases. But honestly, we don't see anything other than beer making out of the hops that we sell to the different people like Yakima Chief.
Well, I've appreciated getting to know all of you a little bit better. The surprise, I think, was Todd giving us scenes from inside the farm, the Greenleaf Farm. Thank you, Todd, for giving us live
He's the only one working right now.
But I did want to give the last word. If I was a new brewer or interested in purchasing Coleman hops, what should my takeaway be? What should I maybe after a visit from the farm, since we're doing this virtually, what's the key takeaway of a visit and the use of Coleman Ag hops?
Grower number 250. Just look for grower number 250 when you're buying from Yakima Chief.
Go ahead, David. Maybe you've got something to add.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing all of these terroir studies, and the goal is to give brewers more information so they make more educated choices. We're opening up, well, we have been, but we're opening up more than ever before for tours. We've educated all of our, Garrett, for example, went to the Cicerone Beer School. We're trying to improve our technology. We're flying drones over where we can look, and you can actually see, if you want to see a view of how water is affecting the fields. We look at things that are going to help on the branding with Salmon Safe, with the way that we look at climate change. So all of those things, we're here as a resource. Please feel free to call us anytime. Call any of this team. You're going to find we're all a great resource to help brewers gain more knowledge so they can come up with the best product possible.
Yeah, I will add to that. we're very open to the collaboration of how a brewer and a farmer get together. And I think YCH has been very instrumental in connecting brewers with farmers, and we want to see more of that. We love the idea of having brewers come out and visit, and speaking to what Liz said earlier, helping them create the best that they can do with their craft and what we do. Hopefully the two of us can help each other and create some awesome brews for everyone to have.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to toss it back over to Nicole Sloan for a few announcements.
Awesome.
And I'd like
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you guys again so much for coming on. We so appreciate you guys. So huge thank you to the entire Coleman Ag Farm and all the family that you guys have there. This was a very interesting and very informative. I'm so glad I get to listen into all of these. So thank you so much for that. And Rob, thank you so much for presenting. And then also just a quick reminder to everybody that all of these sessions were recorded. They will be posted shortly on the virtualharvest.com website, so you'll be able to watch them on demand at any time if your friends or family weren't able to watch it, as well as it'll be uploaded within the Whova app for those that cannot watch YouTube links for our international viewers. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you all again for joining us today and on our first official live virtual harvest session, and we hope to see you on the next ones tomorrow. Thanks again. Again, thank you, Coleman family.
Thank you.
And thank you, Nicole.
Have a great rest of your guys' week.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Take care.
Stay safe.